I'm Keebface and I recently purchased the IQUNIX OG80 Wormhole, my second hot swappable keyboard from IQUNIX. In this video I'm going to share specifications and pricing, my chosen switches and upgrades, an ASMR tour of the keyboard including sound tests both pre and post mods, my personal thoughts and opinions on the keyboard. Those topics will be split down into chapters in the timeline below or the description, so please feel free to skip forward to sections that are more of interest to you. The IQUNIX OG80 is a hot swappable keyboard that costs $199 in its non-RGB or non-backlit sort of version, or $219 with RGB backlighting and standard cherry switches. Pricing does vary depending on the RGB option chosen and the switches selected. Using the non-backlit option and no active sales or discount codes as the baseline, the 10 switch options and effects on the price are as follows. Cherry brown, red and blue come in at $199 without RGB. Cherry pink / kind of silent reds as they're also known comes in at $209 without RGB. TTC gold pink, speed silver and ace comes in at $209 without RGB. Gateron brown, red and blue come in at $199 without RGB. For reference, shipping to Spain from the Chinese warehouse was an additional $19.99. As indicated, the above prices are non-sale, no discount code prices, but don't despair, IQUNIX have sales very often and there are places to find discount codes like on keyboard reviews, IQUNIX keyboard reviews on the bigger YouTube channels. For example, I got my first IQUNIX keyboard using a discount code that I got on Ali Abdal's YouTube channel. There is no tax added on checkout, so the price shown is inclusive of sale tax, but you will often have to pay additional tax and duties if ordering from the main website for delivery from the China warehouse to European countries. So far I've purchased two IQUNIX keyboards shipped from China for delivery to Spain. On the first I paid €40 tax and duties, but the second was delivered without tax and duties, which would normally be payable on delivery. The keyboard is an 80% layout, hence the OG80, and has 83 keys with an inclined function row. There are 3 modes of connection: 2.4 wireless via the dongle, Bluetooth 5.1 and wired via a detachable USB-C cable. The dongle is housed in the onboard storage compartment. It's also known as the OBSC if you're into ridiculous acronyms and abbreviations like a lot of YouTubers are. I was watching a YouTuber the other day and he kept saying config instead of configuration.
Wait, twas? What's twas? Is that short for it was? What kind of rush are you in, man?
I imagine the onboard storage compartment, also known as the OBSC, will be a feature in future keyboard designs, given they've taken the time to come up with an acronym. It has seamless switch, which allows for quick and easy switching between up to 4 devices, while some or all of the devices are switched on. It has N-key rollover. The keyboard is Mac OS compatible and is supplied with extra keycaps, the command and the option keycaps to facilitate this. Function tab held for 5 seconds, switches between Windows and Mac. It has long-lasting battery life via 2 times 2000 milliamp batteries, which you can see through the frosted case at the back, with a claimed 3000 hours of battery life in Bluetooth mode with no RGB. It has the same kind of keycaps as I had on my last keyboard, which are real nice actually, but they're OEM PBT dye sublimated keycaps, so they aren't anything fancy, but they're actually really nice. It comes with CoStar stabilizers, and then the keyboard also comes with a nice short concise manual with all the basic information in it. It comes with the USB 2.4 receiver dongle, it comes with a cable, it comes with 4 custom keycaps, it comes with 4 Mac keycaps, it comes with a cap puller, it comes with a dusting brush, and it comes with a really nice plastic dust cover. So for my keyboard I chose cherry pinks, or silent reds as you may know them, as I've wanted to try cherry silent switches for a long time and I think they suit the IQUNIX polycarbonate boards, especially this one. There is foam dampening between the plate and the PCB, but not beneath the PCB, which leaves a relatively large unoccupied space at the bottom of the case. I don't want to add dampening to the bottom of the case as it's made from that lovely translucent polycarbonate, so it made sense to me to try silent switches in this board. With this in mind, the only upgrades needed for me me were to the switches and the stabilizers. So I lubed the cherry pinks and swapped the springs for 65 gram springs out of another set of cherry switches. This essentially makes them lubed silent blacks, I guess. The main reasons for lubing and switching the spring was to reduce the spring ping, which was significant, which you'll see in the next section. The lube alone would most likely have taken care of it, but I prefer heavier switches anyway, and using heavier springs will also reduce spring ping. I also wanted to quieten down the switches as much as I could with the lube and with, obviously increase the smoothness. I actually really like what others would call scratchy cherry switches. I think cherry housings and stems give a nice textured feel to the switch. I don't see it as scratchy, more a textured kind of feel to the switch, what I quite like, and that's especially when they're lubed to reduce that ever so slightly. I did a tape mod to reduce the stabilizer housing movement and rattle. Without tape, Co-Star plate mounted stabs move a lot in the plate, which creates significant rattle when hitting the ends of the stabilized keycaps. I then generously lubed the stabilizer inserts to reduce the rattle caused between the contact between the inserts and the wires. This is about all you can do then with Co-Star stabs as far as I'm aware, so this is about as good as it gets, which you'll see in the next section, which includes sound tests. So in general, I really like the keyboard. I will go through the standout good and bad points as I see them, but in general, as a headline, I love this keyboard and it suits me because of the unique style, functional layout that minimizes occupied desk space, pleasurable typing experience, and the flawless functionality of the Bluetooth mode with seamless switch. So the standout good points for me, which I've just covered a few of, are the design. It's a very IQUNIX-esque design and layout, complemented by the excellent build quality, while obviously coming in the same layout and bearing a close resemblance to the A80, which is the blue and yellow keyboard with the incline function row. This keyboard has more of a sci-fi special edition look to it, so it's a nice choice if you're on the fence about the A80 colorway and kind of want a more special edition feeling keyboard. The translucent polycarbonate gives a nice frosted view of the inside of the keyboard and is perfectly complemented by the high quality RGB, which really is good on IQUNIX keyboards. I highly recommend spending the extra $20 for the RGB version of this keyboard for obvious reasons. Next is the Bluetooth. Having now used some cheaper Bluetooth keyboards, I really appreciate how good the Bluetooth is on these higher quality keyboards. You don't need any of that funky on-off action on the PC startup, and it works as soon as the password screen comes up. When you use multiple keyboards, regularly switch between them and switch each of them between different devices, Bluetooth is the weapon of choice unless you want to spend the rest of your life groping the backs and sides of devices for USB ports. The seamless switch works perfectly and allows switching between 4 devices. The next real positive for me is the number of switches available for this keyboard, and specifically the cherry pinks. I really appreciate being able to order the keyboard with cherry pinks and having the option of switches like TTCs as well as standard cherries and standard Gatorons. I would just love to see silent blacks more often, as I prefer linear switches in the 55 to 70 gram range, but I was really grateful to have the cherry pinks as an option. The next good point is the onboard storage compartment, still can't say OBSC, for the 2.4 receiver. It's real good in terms of functionality, so it's a good thing in general, but it was also good to see that it didn't add any additional issues like rattling, because the dongle really isn't a sort of pressed fit when you insert it into the storage compartment. It's not a really tight fit. It kind of drops in there almost under its own weight, so it was really good to see that the dongle itself and the magnetic lid, this is held in place by a magnetic lid, it was really good to see that neither of those introduced any kind of extra rattling to the board, so that was a good thing, in addition to the storage compartment itself being a good thing. So the standout not so good points for me, the main downside I can still see with IQUNIX keyboards, apart from the Spacey edition one, the blue and white one, is the fact that they all use Co-Star stabs, and this is no exception. This comes with Co-Star stabs, which is not so good from a modding perspective. Plate mount Co-Star stabs are okay if you don't want to put too much effort in terms of mods, and are probably better than plate mount cherry stabs if you had them side by side and neither of them were modded or lubed. But if plate mount is the only option you have, you can get to a much better place with cherry than you can with Co-Star, because you can clip them, you can do a holy mod, there's more that you can do, and you can end out in a better place with cherry stabs than Co-Stars. So the only other kind of negative that I've got for the keyboard is the cover for the onboard storage compartment, which is just like a short 2-inch long piece of plastic with sort of a magnet at either end of it which holds it in place. It's just a bit finicky for me with my sausage fingers and no fingernails. Probably not an issue for most of you, so probably you can disregard this, but for me it's just a little bit awkward to get the plate on and off, and that's it really. No other bad points from me. So to sort of sign off on my opinion of the keyboard, I really hate using generic terms like it's a preference thing. You've come here to watch a review, you've come here to hear my opinion, and I want to give you my opinion, and the best way that I can summarize this is that I bought the OG80 because I was actively looking for a special second IQUNIX keyboard, specifically an IQUNIX keyboard. I bought the first one, the L80, earlier on in the year, and ever since then I've had my eyes out for a new one because the first one was so good. The second one is going to lead to a third one, and so on, I imagine, because IQUNIX keyboards are good, really good. So that's the best way that I can summarize this, is that I bought one, that made me buy a second, this one's going to make me buy a third, and I have no doubt that the third is going to make me buy a fourth. So that's the best way I feel like I can summarize my opinions on IQUNIX keyboards in general, and also on the OG80 itself. And that is it for my review of the IQUNIX OG80. Thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing and click on one of the videos here to see videos about the last IQUNIX keyboard that I bought, which was the L80. Thanks a lot. Cheers now.